Welcome to Super Garbage Day, a retro video game show where my co-host and I randomly select a game, usually obscure, 20 years or older, that neither of us have played, with hopes to find the trash. No.
Treasure.
In the treasures. With hopes to find the treasures in the trash. I'm your host, B. Reezy, and to my Rizite.
Mr. Marizo.
What? Mr. Marizo?
Mr. Marizo?
Oh, you sounded like you had a mouthful of candy or something right there.
I was
Mr. Marizo.
Mr. Marizo.
We have a lot of goofy energy today, so it's good. I mean, speak for yourself. We do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Super Garbage Day, or just go into the show notes. That's the easiest way to find it. Where you, for just $2, can get a bonus episode every week or every other week. But so far, we've been good on it. We have a bonus episode coming this week that we're going to play a little bit of a sample of right now. So check this out. This is the upcoming episode on Retro Deep Cuts, Patreon only exclusive. The episode's called Super Metroid versus Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, because you don't have the super jump, you don't have the screw attack, you can't even turn into a ball.
Why do I have this distinct memory that in every Metroid game you start off beefy and then you lose your powers?
I think it's because in other Metroidvanias they do that. But then
that's based completely off of
Castlevania.
Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
So that's just a false memory. Okay. Also, we have a Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Super Garbage Day, where on Tuesday nights, Pacific Standard Time, I don't really have a nailed down time, but it's going to be after 4. I will be on there, or Mr. Miller at some point. We'll be on there doing first impressions of the game that was randomly chosen that week. Also, we do love reviews, so if you like the show, if you don't like the show, then don't review it actually. But if you want to go to Apple or Spotify or anywhere that you get your podcast and leave us a review, we'd be super happy. That helps spread the word on the show and helps the show get to other ears. So, yeah. Also, this week we have a new patron. He goes by Cappy74. So welcome to the family. Cappy74. He submitted a game to our Patreon pool, which is a pool where if you submit $5, you become a $5 patron. Every month, you can actually put a game of your choice, as long as it's 20 years or older, and it doesn't matter if we've played it or not, into a separate pool or list that we draw from. That
It's one of those days.
It's gonna be a long editing day tomorrow. That we draw from at the end of every month, and then we do an episode on that game chosen on this main channel. Woo! Oh, good Lord, I got all that out of the way. So, here's a retro question of the week. Which this time, instead of blindsiding you, I actually told you early on because I thought, I want to give you time to come up with like a decent answer. Not that your answers in the past have been bad, but I was like, it's not really fair.
It's funny because this one I immediately had an answer, but didn't want to give you over.
I want to save it for now. Yeah, so here's the question. What NES game do you think would be a great 3D game? And by that, I mean the Super Mario 64 treatment.
Does it have to be NES? Can it be a Super Nintendo game? Because I don't think my choice is an NES game.
Yeah, I don't know. This is fine.
Okay. I want a fully immersive F-Zero X game.
F-Zero X?
I want to...
Wait, hold on. F-Zero X?
Or F-Zero.
Just F-Zero?
Well, F-Zero X is the GameCube version.
So wait, you're talking about like an F-Zero that has RPG elements?
I want to play as Captain Falcon, as a bounty hunter.
Oh!
Running around, collecting bounties, but then you
Wow.
also have some... you have the driving elements where maybe you got to win a race to catch your bounty. Or maybe you're just trying to get away from the space cops.
Freaking space
and then
cops.
have some sort of like starfighting mechanic. I'm thinking like Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah.
Where you have your third person shooter type of element. And then you got like those swoop bike sequences, which are the races. And then you also have like space combat, because this character is around. There's all this lore behind him.
That's a great idea.
And, like even in Super Smash Brothers, he's fleshed out. He's got,
and it's been so long since we've had an F-Zero game.
He's got moves.
And if you went full blown like immersive world, but include the racing part as like the main draw.
I wouldn't even say it's the main draw. It's just, that's just a part of it. So you got 3 games in one basically, but
they did that a little bit with Star Fox and it didn't work out that well, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think I like your idea.
And I think if you leaned more into a more adult audience, like what they do with Bayonetta.
Well, that's the other spectrum of the adult audience.
But I mean, like, Nintendo can do more mature content.
Yeah.
And lean into that kind of aesthetic and that kind of...
Man, they would never do that with their IPs, though. And they wouldn't do it with anybody from Smash.
Yeah, I mean, that's just...
Listen, man,
they got to make that jump, because who knows anything about F-Zero these days?
You're preaching to the choir, though, because I think that's a phenomenal idea. So let's hope we will this into reality.
Yeah. I put it out there.
Yeah,
it's in the zeitgeist now.
I never thought of that, dude. And that's a way to bring back F-Zero.
Yeah,
and it would be a great Switch game.
Oh, it would be. I mean, you could probably launch a console with that game.
I heard the rumors of the next Switch they want to release, and this is like pure rumor. There's no hard evidence behind this, but they want to call it the Super Switch. And I was like, Switch. That would be so cool. Bring it like a callback to the Super Nintendo, you know, the Nintendo Super Switch. But I don't even think it's going to happen, because they're too close to beating the PS2 in the most consoles ever sold
with the Switch. I mean, the Switch
right now. Yeah, they're only like
great console.
They're like currently, as of today, they're only 31 million away units from beating PlayStation 2's unit.
If you would make more of the full Switch instead of just the portable one, I would buy one.
Well, apparently there is a limited edition Zelda Switch coming out soon.
I might buy that one.
That will come with the new Zelda game,
because I need it to be able to hook up to my TV.
Yeah, I do too. But I'm thinking if the second Switch had a like casting, some kind of, I don't know.
I don't want to deal with that latency.
I don't either. I don't like that, but like also the docking thing. I don't know. My son owns a Switch. I don't, but I love it.
I see it right there.
It's there. It's amazing. Amazing piece of technology. So to answer my own question, or the retro question, this is really funny, because I thought about it hard and I was like, oh, dude, Super Mario 2. I want to see a 3D version of the Super Mario 2 world. And then stupidly, I figured out that that's what Super Mario 64 was.
Yeah.
It was heavily based on Mario 2.
Yeah.
It had the desert level. It had like majority of the characters are from Mario 2. Be it, Mario 3 as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought like, wow. So I have no answer this week, because I felt so foolish and I just didn't want to come up with something else. I think it's better just to admit my tomfoolery, and
Nintendo.
I can't beat F-Zero.
Make the jump. Do a Captain Falcon game.
Oh, that's true, because Captain Falcon, as of right now, is more popular than F-Zero because of Smash. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know any kid these days that actually knows
F-Zero. Yeah, but I don't know.
I don't know many adults that know F-Zero. People my age, where like, what are you talking about? It's this dope racing game that had a killer soundtrack.
Oh, I had such good music. I really want to do an episode where I want to do a series of episodes about like top 10 music tracks from SNES or like Genesis or stuff. Yeah, I would love to.
It's actually one of my favorite songs to play on the guitar.
I can hear it.
Like Mute City or Big Blue.
The second you started talking about it,
I'm gonna bring my guitar. I'm just gonna get down.
I have a guitar right here.
You got an amp?
No.
I was like, we're just gonna derail this episode.
Yeah. No, welcome to GM sessions. All right, it's time to get in the game. This week's game is Fighter Maker 2 on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah!
Do 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 do. Okay. Yes.
Did have a banger soundtrack, actually.
Yeah, it did. Actually.
Oh,
Mark the Lagos. Woo! Fighter Maker 2 is a 3D combat game released in 2002 that features a robust character creation system, letting players even create animations.
oh boy.
It was released on the PlayStation 2 and Windows PC from Interbrain and Age Tech Incorporated. It is similar to Fighter Maker 1, its predecessor, but with more advancements in character design, movement, and attacks. So, this is the game we played all week.
If I would have known it was on the PC, I would have demoed that version of it.
You know, I'm going to be completely honest. I just found out that today.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
That hurts.
I didn't know it was on the PC. But we did not draw it from the PC.
It's true, it wasn't a PC title.
I think that's copping out if you go for the more accessible version of something.
I wanted to see it.
Or just like use a mouse
and a keyboard.
I mean, designing anything with a controller.
Oh, we're jumping the shark because that is coming into. Well, unless you want to just jump right into that.
No, we got to do first impressions. But I do want to preface this by saying that I had such a difficult time trying to use the creator mode.
Same.
That I focused primarily this review on the fighting game that was built in. But just to not be cheap, I did go ahead and beat the game with every single character that they provided. And I do have a breakdown on that end of it. But with that said, let's roll out first impressions. So my first impressions, as you can see on Twitch and on our YouTube channel, I thought like, wow, this is generic. This is very, very generic game from the get-go. And I think that's kind of the idea. The game's called Fighter Maker.
High school mall fight simulator.
I mean, if I was to go to the store and buy something that said like Hamburger Maker, and it's like,
that is what this game is about.
Yes.
I make hamburgers.
I'd play Hamburger Maker. Sounds kind of cool.
Did you not play that old Atari game?
You're talking about Burger Time?
Yeah.
It's not Hamburger Maker.
I mean, you make burgers and you throw them across the screen.
Yeah. I guess that would be like the knockoff version of Burger Time. I'm playing Burger Maker.
There is a horror game out that you make it's set in a restaurant where you make burgers and then Five Nights at Freddy-esque things come after you.
Oh, my favorite, jump scares. Yay. God. Well, that's kind of funny. So like cheese and lettuce jumps at you, or
no, like you actually you have to make these orders, and then after your dinner rush, then the spooky stuff happens.
Oh, so you do like a whole day of just normal
just
and then it's
working
like
at a fast food
That's
restaurant.
Cool.
Yeah,
I can get behind that.
Where it's like, oh, now you gotta go take out the garbage, and then something's chasing you.
So if you can't already tell, we don't want to talk about Fighter Maker.
How do I derail this so we can talk about anything else?
So another first impression I got is the game actually has pretty good fight mechanics. Not gonna lie, the ones that were built into it, I was impressed. Of course, I'm basing this off Iron and Blood.
Oh, this was a fighting game.
Warriors of Ravenloft. Yeah. And if you haven't heard that episode, go back and listen to it. I think it's episode 4. Another first impression I got was this is clearly a Tekken clone.
Mm-hmm.
And the last first impression, weird sentence, was that the maker section of the game was extremely intricate and requires like a manual for even the basics. So that's what I got. What were your first impressions?
So I immediately just dove into the maker part of it because that was what the game advertised itself as, is a maker. And I wanted to see how powerful it is.
Yeah.
And while there is a lot of options, I also felt it was very limited just in like just straight up character creation. You basically have male or female. You can't really change the body type that much. Like I wanted to make a big fat guy and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Or at least somebody chonky.
Well, I mean, I was able to make Beef Supreme.
Yeah.
Which was exactly how I envisioned them. Which actually I just picked random stuff. It's on the first impression video. It's pretty funny. I actually was having the time of my life a little bit with that maker part, only because I didn't know what I was doing. And I I was realizing quickly how complicated it was.
That is what broke me. When you actually have to make every single movement of your down to, you can't just select a punch.
Right.
You have to design a punch. And as somebody who is working to go into the animation field, this was work times a million.
When this game was selected by the will of retro or the gods of retro or whatever we're calling it, I thought immediately like this might be up Mr. Miller's alley because you are in game design school and animation school, like game design, but it's a branch of it, like designing animations and character. And upon me trying the game out for the first time, I was like, man, I do never want to design video game animations. This seems incredibly overwhelming, and they don't even offer like a basic tutorial, right?
I only knew what I was doing because I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Because you have to know what a rig is. You have to know what frames are and how many frames per movement are actually going to work.
Like the X, Y, and Z axis. The
big problem with this is animation is already hyper tedious and finicky, and you have to know so much about how the human body moves and how people interpret how movement is interpreted.
Yeah.
And how the human eye sees things. Because you have to you can't just say, okay, yeah, he's going to do this, and this. And
it's got to look natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can't be like, if you don't know how to do that from the get-go in this game, I'm not really entirely sure what the market was for this game, but I do think, I feel in my heart, and forgive me if this sounds at all ignorant, but I feel like Japan audience would have probably enjoyed this game more than North Americans, because we tend to be impatient, and this game requires an immense amount of patience.
There is and this is nothing against anybody that's neurodivergent, or if this sounds insensitive.
I just said the same thing.
But there is a certain level of autism needed for this game.
Okay.
Like you got to be hyper focused on, you want to make this.
I think the game should have came with an Adderall script.
Yeah, that would have helped.
Imagine you wanted to make a character who did a backflip. We're still in first impressions. Oh my God, let's just go to gameplay.
I would say just from the get-go, this is not a game. This is a toolkit.
But it's also not user-friendly.
There was an attempt. I will just give it that.
I don't know, man. There's so many creator wrestler modes that came before this game that smoke it.
Well, that's because they shot for the sun.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like, in a sense of like UI and like user experience.
That yeah,
like it's definitely this one.
Well, the rest, like I've played some of those wrestling games.
It's like the best part of them, man. But so good.
But they don't make you make every single frame of animation.
It escapes me which game in particular, wrestling game, that was intricate, but I know it predated this. And I believe it was on the PlayStation 2, and I think it might have been SmackDown, but
SmackDown versus Raw.
It was one of those, man. It escapes me at the moment, but I do recall you were able to download a basic move set, and you could move certain joints. So they aligned it as if it was like a little marionette puppet that already had the basic normalization of how things move. And I kind of felt, well, this is kind of funny though, because I also discovered something recently that's going to make us both feel really stupid. Apparently, if we would have dove a little deeper, we would have found out that you can import basic moves to begin as your baseline. So we were starting in the create mode from the default 0. I didn't know how to do that though.
I didn't know how to do it
somebody
either.
on Instagram of all things, I think it was Instagram or our Discord, told me that. So it had to been Discord because by the way, we have a Discord.
Yeah. Well, then that game failed at its basic purpose.
That's what I mean by the UI was.
Yeah.
Yeah. The user experience is really what faltered it and what was its Achilles heel. So, no, I mean, not really though, because to be fair, the the game could have been. I don't know what it was supposed to be.
It's obviously not for us.
Right. But it would have been. See, me back when the PS2 was out, dude, I was all about creation, create your own thing. I was ready to sit down and literally put hundreds of hours into a stupid animation. Because I was already doing it with GIF creation and and other things like Newgrounds and all that stuff. So, but this would not have spoke to me at all.
I am the opposite. Like even today, I have a hard time with any game where it's just like base building is the new feature, and I'm like, cool, I'm bored.
Right. Well, now I'm over it now.
It doesn't do it for me.
I don't have that anymore. I think I owe a lot of that to being a dad, and I'm just like, the world's just a rougher place for me than before when it was a beautiful land of freedom.
Manage a restaurant, and you don't want to take care of anything ever again.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. No wonder you're looking up like restaurant themed horror games. You can't escape it. Yeah. So to me, I don't know. It's called Fighter Maker. We were given a game randomly that the entire premise of it is you create a fighter, and we weren't able to even create a single punch.
Nope.
We can make the characters.
Yep.
That was okay. It wasn't as diverse though as the wrestling games.
Nope.
So, and I think that was due to the fact that the wrestling game was built. It already had all of the assets. And then it's like, here's just a little bit of our like create code that we use to build the game. And so everything was already there. And this game was like, we're going to make 6 generic characters.
That was also my problem with the character maker in general.
Yeah.
Is in those wrestling games, you could get wild. Like all of a sudden you got like a green skinned, you could make Shrek if you wanted to.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. We okay. I don't know how this is going to be perceived, but we had a lot of inside jokes when that game came out on the PS2. And I think it was SmackDown versus Raw, or it was SmackDown. And we made, this is a bad story. I don't know if this is going to make the cut, but we had a friend who used to get whooped on by his stepdad. Okay, it's not funny. Hear me out. It's not funny, but we made his abusive stepfather as a character. This is how intricate.
As you do.
Yeah. It was a very intricate creative wrestler mode. So we made him so that we could just beat him up.
That sounds like what a teenager would do in an escapism environment.
Right. But here's the funny part. My friend's little brother at the time, who was super good at games just from the get-go. Some people just have it. He didn't know who that character was. So he's playing the game. It was his favorite character.
Oh my God.
He beat the game. Like he got all the belts with him. And I was like, ooh, that's
problematic.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah. We named the character Snake Eyes. So
it is kind of a funny story.
Yeah, he went down as like the most played character because of my friend's little brother, and we just didn't want to break it to him. He just loved that. He's like, this character's so good. So as you can see, we don't want to
don't want to talk about
we don't want to talk about Fighter Maker, but we have to. It's our show. God, this episode, I feel so bad.
All right, well let's
stay with us.
Let's stop talking about the maker part because there was an attempt.
Yeah.
It's too convoluted for its own good.
I have some actual good words to say about the built-in fighting game that they have in it.
And I will say, just from an animation standpoint,
yeah,
the potential is there if it wasn't so complicated.
If
it was a little more automated,
yeah,
it wouldn't be so painful.
Also, this game to me seems kind of like an oxymoron in a sense of the only person who actually would enjoy and be good at this game would already have the knowledge enough to not need this game.
They would exactly. You would just make.
They would already be using Maya, or
you might as well use your own engine at this point. Like you could make a better game in Unreal without having to deal with all the jank,
right?
And the limitations that were okay. So I can put my guy in a bustier, or they'll give me a Santa hat, but not an actual Santa suit.
Yeah.
And then they don't give you beard options. And it's like, so I can't be Santa.
You were really harping on making Santa, or what was
no, I'm just giving an example of how limited the character.
I thought you were making some Fighter Maker 2 cinematic universe I'm unaware of that has Santa and the Undertaker, and
it would if I could.
And Snake Eyes.
I couldn't put corpse paint on somebody.
Oh yes. I played the built-in fighting game. the fighter of the maker, and I beat it with every character, like I stated, and I actually had fun, to be honest. Like I had fun playing it. It's very faulty. It has a lot of issues, and it's super generic. But I do have to give it props in its ability to be an actual real fighting game that mimic Tekken perfectly in a sense of the blocking and the movement. And there were parts in the, you know what I really like about the Tekken fighting games is that sometimes that Jackie Chan-ish situation when you're both swinging and you're missing because one of you's doing like a down sweep and the other person's doing a high one, and it looks so cool. Like you miss each other and you're still fighting. You know, you don't really experience that in a lot of like 2D games, 2D fighting games specifically. But so I played this game, and I'm just gonna go quickly through the characters. So we got Zoe Johnson, who looked like like the bride from Kill Bill.
I was gonna say Buffy the Not Vampire Slayer.
Yes. She was the most well-rounded character. She had range and she had speed, but she wasn't very she didn't hit very hard. Then you had Septigo. I think it's Septigo or Septigo. He was the hard hitter. He was the one that did a lot of damage when he hit you, slightly slower. We had Rei Iwata, who looked just like any generic 3D fighting guy you've seen in every fighting game, Virtua Fighter, Tekken, blonde hair, you know, the buzz cut, or not buzz cut, I'm sorry, the flat top.
The flat top. He just needed a gi, and he would have been Ken.
That character sucks. He was terrible. He was just generic. He was just a very default character. Lee Lin Lee, which is spelled Lee and then Lin and then -Li, was by far the best character because not only were her animations really fluid and cool, but she had the ability of fighting forwards and back. So if she was facing you, or if you flipped around, which happens a lot with this Tekken style fighting system, you sometimes get turned around. She actually had a whole set of moves that attack from behind her without her,
like back kicks and elbows,
or just and she can do combos from behind without looking the other direction.
Interesting.
And then she actually had moves where she would kick and she'd leave her leg up instead of sitting it back down, which opened up like
a whole nother move.
It was cool. I was really impressed. She was super fun to play with. Then we had Kazuki Togo, who I would consider the boss character because he just looks like a boss character. He looks kind of like a buff Sephiroth. Well, I guess Sephiroth was buff, but he looks like, I don't know, Bill. He's the Bill.
Sephiroth is cut. He's still very twinky.
Okay.
He's all of those characters.
It depends if you're playing the remake or if you're playing the original or if he's on Air Guys.
Well, I mean, if you're playing the original, then he's
a pile of Legos.
Everybody's Popeye because their forearms are so huge.
It is true. That is the best way to describe that era of PlayStation 1.
We are still avoiding talking about Fighter Maker 2.
We're talking. I'm Kazuki Togo. He's the boss kind of character, and then of course Bone Crusher.
Bone Crusher is ready.
The worst character in the game. He looks like a high school wrestling student. He has terrible range in his melee attacks, and he primarily, just like every fighting game would do, have the wrestling guy that relies on the grappling and on the grapple moves, which I had no clue how to do. Never did it once with any of the other characters. And
I pulled off one grapple with Zoe.
I don't know. I kept trying and I couldn't do it.
It was, I don't know how I did it either.
But okay. So long story short, the fighting mechanics were fun. It is what it is though. It's whatever. You wouldn't pay full price for that game.
Well, I might have if you'd called it like the One Tree Hill Fighting Simulator or something.
One Tree Hill Fighting Simulator?
It was they all just reminded me of other than the names, very generic high school drama characters.
Yes, but it was...
Because their clothes are all, it was just like, it's like 90s.
It spoke for its time though, 2002.
Fashion.
Yeah, it was like early 2000s. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying that also these characters were built to not matter.
I don't know. And
there's no story.
When you're advertising a Fighter Maker, though, give me some weird. Show me what you can do.
Yeah, I want to see tentacles.
Yeah, I want to see what the developers were like. This is how powerful our Fighter Maker is, and these are the weird, bizarre things.
I want a guy who can open his mouth and a boot comes out with a foot and kicks you in the face.
Now we're talking about Clay Fighters.
I thought of Clay Fighters. That's true. Clay Fighters. I don't know if it's better in this game, but
it is better than this game.
I don't know. I would prefer to play this game's default fighting game over Clay Fighter. I liked it. I sat down and played it for hours because I was like, I'm gonna play this game. I don't care. It's a part of the show. And I did. And by the time I got to like the 5th or 6th character doing another run through of beating the game, which all it is you just play the other characters.
Yeah.
That's it. And Bone Crusher's the last guy, and he's the easiest guy. Then it rolls credits. But I was like, I was kind of having fun. You know, I got really good at it. And then I was like, well, don't care.
That's that.
Yep. Moving on. So yeah, that's gameplay. It's Tekken based. And it's pretty tight and crisp with its mechanics.
I was not mad when I booted it up. I was fearing Iron and Blood again. I think I just have PTSD from every fighting game from now on.
If I would have attempted to make a character in Fighter Maker 2, it would have been Iron and Blood character in this game.
But you couldn't. They don't give you the options.
No, I just meant how janky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the mechanics were. Yeah.
I see what you're saying now.
It would have been terrible. It would have been the worst crossover ever. Oh, do you have anything else to add to gameplay?
Not really. I mean, really, like you covered it. It is almost a Tekken clone without having the nuance of Tekken.
Without having the charm, without having the character selection, without having...
Tekken also has a much more robust combo system and move sets.
That's true, but I mean, this is a Fighter Maker game, so if you knew what you were doing, then
maybe you could, but
I didn't. But nobody's gonna care.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
I didn't figure out any like combos really.
Right.
I figured out some moves that flowed together very well, but there was that I never figured out how to throw a fireball or anything, if that's a thing.
I don't think you can throw fireballs, but
no Hadouken.
No, that's where they.
No.
I don't think you can do that in Tekken. I can tell that it was heavily inspired by Tekken.
I feel like there were some special moves in Tekken. I mean,
I don't know.
I know you can play as a panda.
I just keep thinking of the second Tekken.
And there's also a bear.
I was thinking about the second Tekken.
And
pulls off the tongue
well, there's King. He's a guy with a leopard head.
You know we had to talk about Fighter Maker 2, right?
I don't want to. I'm trying to find the exit wherever I can.
Graphics and audio. All right. So
it is funny because I keep dodging it, but I didn't hate this game.
I didn't hate it either.
Much as others. It's just it's so vanilla and just.
I see. I mean, the effort was put into it. But as far as graphics and audio are concerned, the graphics are decent.
The soundtrack though
is good.
The soundtrack's just a banger.
Kind of like a hyped. It's like house music and rock.
It got me hype.
It wasn't bad. And then of course the backgrounds were okay. You know, they had like that 3D style. Just like I'm going to keep saying Tekken. Very similar to the way Tekken's background or Dead or Alive's backgrounds are, where they're very thematic. You had a parking garage, a pirate ship, a Zen garden, an underground temple. And just like downtown Tokyo.
I did actually like downtown Tokyo.
I thought the pirate ship was weird. I'm like, what?
It didn't fit.
It didn't matter.
But I mean,
Bone Crusher stage, I guess. The pirate wrestler.
I can't remember the character that I fought. It kind of fit her. She's the one in like the crop top. She's a darker skinned character.
Oh yeah. That was not Zoe Johnson. I think there's only 2 females. Yeah, it was either Zoe Johnson or Lin Lee Lei.
It must be
Lee Lin Lee.
It was.
It is her.
It fit.
She's the best character.
She felt piratey.
She is. Her mechanics are great. But don't. Yeah, I won't recommend. Well, we haven't got there yet. Yeah, so I mean, that's really all I can say about the graphics and audio. The maker portion of it, to create a fighter and create a fight mechanic section, wasn't really screaming anything extraordinary about gameplay.
That's where I would dock points from the graphics section of it because of how limited the maker portion actually is. Yeah,
when that's its biggest selling point, and is that you can create your own fighting game, but not really. Because
I couldn't sit here and be like, okay, what was something popular in 2002? I'm gonna make a Furby fighter. Like you couldn't make a.
You're shooting for the stars, Mr. Miller.
But I mean, if you're saying
Furby fighter,
if you're saying fighter maker,
yeah,
I want to get in and I want to make I want all my characters to be Care Bears.
And see, here's the thing: is you can do that in that wrestling game.
Right.
So
That's
that's the point I'm getting at. Is that like perhaps maybe whoever was in charge of making the wrestling game should have made this game,
yeah.
because then I think it would have been at least more approachable.
Yeah, because it was all that everyone was. It was generic human female and generic human male.
Yeah,
Where your
like throw a raptor in there or
your
something,
body type said you didn't have any sort of animal
or a kangaroo or something.
anything.
Yeah.
There was, and even in that, you had very limited effect on their actual physical attributes.
Right. And then there's no like, oh, design the background or design the music. Like, can you imagine? It's just like,
but it did give you an entire section where you could write the bio of these characters.
Oh, and I did. Actually, my character,
Beef Supreme
was his name. He was from Ohio. His occupation was, or his hobbies were crabbing. His occupation was crabber.
A crabber from Ohio.
Yeah.
All right.
They're known for their crabs.
Yeah.
And his fighting style was Sailor Foo.
Sailor Foo. Oh, God.
Yeah. And that's about the most fun I had with the create section of the game. So I don't know. There's nothing else to add. I think
we just got to write a comic book.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he also looked like a mutated hyper neon version of Dr. Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture.
Okay.
So
we took similar approaches.
And I was able to make his stance, which was this, just where he just it's
tweaked a little bit.
I know you guys can't see what I did, but if you go to the our YouTube channel, Super Garbage Day, or the Twitch channel, you can see when I created Beef Supreme, and that's as far as I got, man. I'm laughing my butt off though when I was making them. So, all right, let's just get to verdict. I just want a new game.
This one, I will say, this is for somebody, but to me, it was if you're watching someone make a hamburger and then they dropped the patty on the floor and then picked it back up and served it to you, and you said, "Well, there was an attempt, but I'm not going to eat that."
Right. I see you got a lot of hamburger analogies today.
It's just, maybe I'm hungry.
I think you're hungry. I'm kind of getting hungry. I'm about to be a burger maker.
But it was. It's trash. It might be for you,
right?
Because it was popular enough that they got 2 of them out of it.
Yeah.
So it's for someone.
It is a sequel.
It is not for us.
How bad is the first one?
I don't. I would actually be surprised if the first one is way better.
Oh, that's a good point.
And then whoever got in charge of this one, they saw Tekken.
Yeah. Well, what the first one's like Tekken though. I don't know. That's something we'll have to we'll look into, because that's a good point. It probably is one of those cases of the sequel's worse than.
Yeah, this is if you're hungry enough, you probably eat this up.
So is this garbage?
It's garbage, but it's garbage. But for someone else, it might just be digestible.
But it ain't treasure.
It's not. No, it's definitely not treasure.
Though Fighter Maker 2 is an attempt at a creation game, its overly simple design and overly complicated creator do not complement one another. I had some fun playing the built-in fighting game, but I will never revisit this game for any reason other than somebody's betting me $1 million I can't make a guy do a backflip in Fighter Maker 2.
And I appreciate your will to finish it with every character.
Well, I mean, I had to do something.
I banged my head against the wall and then forgot to do a save state because I'm that person.
Oh yeah, on your PS1 with your physical card.
And I don't have a memory card. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And I lost everything, and it was just like, that's cool.
And you're like, nope,
never again.
I don't think it's trash, but it does get a thumbs down from me because it's a game. It's a fighting game. If I were to give it a trash can status, I would be putting it in the same ballpark as Iron and Blood, and I think at least the fighting section of this game.
No. Iron and Blood is locked in a box while it's still on fire in the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Remember,
Iron and Blood is an SCP at this point.
This like I said, this is you just got you worked a long shift. I'm doing a lot of restaurant references. You worked a long shift and you bust a table and there's a half-eaten cheeseburger in front of you. Are you that hungry for a fighting game?
Not this
because
one.
It's that generic.
Yeah.
You can eat it. It's not going to make you sick unless that person that ate before was disgusting. But you could still cut off the bad bits.
The bad bits.
Just don't touch the maker part of the fighter. It's Fighter 2.
But you're not going to Fighter 2. Hey, what are you playing? Fighter 2. It's like, dang.
Yep. They're gonna hear those driving rocky house beats and they're gonna want to play too.
Man, now I wish I had like $1 billion and I worked for a game company and just make a game called Fighter 2. But no Fighter 1.
Fighter 2.
Fighter 2. Dan Kenshiro actually gave us a little bit of his review on the game. He played it alongside us this week. He said, well, this moveset editor is a nightmare. I did, however, manage to make the win pose a dab, though. That being said, it's pretty innovative for a PS2 game, especially having little experience in 3D, or at least being able to manipulate 3D models in a 3D space. But, as he said, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So thank you for putting the fact,
Dan, I applaud you that you managed to make a dab. I am impressed.
Well, you should see what Beef Supreme does. It's a full-blown seizure. And it's just the standing animation. So, also, fun fact about this game, Fighter Maker 2 was accused of stealing many animations and physics from other games in their code, from games as such Tekken 2, Street Fighter EX plus A, Virtua Fighter, and Dead or Alive. But there was no legal action taken because you can't copyright a move.
A maker, yeah.
You can't, can't copyright, yeah. It's just, but they're saying within the characters that were.
Oh,
and I saw some of it. I was like, well,
yeah, I don't disagree. But
what are they gonna do? Like maybe like punch, kick.
Yeah,
it's all.
Well, they would also. I mean, under the copyright law, they changed it by 30%. It is. Yeah. It's fair play.
Also, its competitors are probably like, we don't give a crap.
Yeah, what are we gonna do?
What is Fighter Maker?
Yeah, all we're gonna do is say this game is good enough to sue, and it is not.
No. All right, it's time to pick a new game.
Yes, thank Christ.
I'm done.
Or other God figure.
Think Robo Christ.
Praise Odin.
Praise Odin. Odin Maker 2.
By Thor's tingly nipples.
You know what? I've made up my mind. Let's just go double random.
Spin that wheel.
Okay, so this week we are playing a game on the Sega Master System, published by Sega. Obviously. Developed by Whiteboard.
Okay.
From 1987. And the game is called Great Golf.
Great Golf. All right.
It's our first sports game.
Yeah.
And it's a golf game on the Sega Master
Sports Ball.
Yay!
I'm so ready to be bored.
Hey, it's called Great Golf. Maybe it's great. I don't know. Well, join us next week while we review Great Golf on the Sega Master System. Fuck. Oh, man. Oh, well. Maybe, you know what?
Maybe it's good.
It might be fun. I don't know. I don't play golf.
I mean, Golden Tea is pretty fun.
I love me some Golden Tea, man.
But then again, Golden Tea just comes with beer because you can only find it at bars, apparently.
Golden Tea is awesome. All right. That's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. And be safe out there and don't judge a book by its grammar. See you later.
You should really judge a book by its grammar.
Well, not me. I'm the book.
Meow!
Bye.
watching with my dad. I just want to say, everybody, guys, bye.